when you were at the city and you were starting to connect those dots, right? That property, right? These, you know, you're trying to figure out property for the convention. You figure out the ownership is in Colorado. You find out that it's a group working with Jeff to purchase the property. This is the early stages of acquiring the pieces of real estate to put together the Water Street project. Then you hear of SPP and like kind of,
well, there was no SPP at the time.
Well, I mean the people behind the beginnings of forming the company to do that. Like, what was your thought process putting these pieces together? Like, whoa, these guys are up to something big here.
Sure. Well, I knew they were up to something big, but at that point, there was no SPP, and it was really just Jeff Vinik and his team that was doing it. He had a guy named Jack Sperling in Denver, who was a strong advisor, and Todd Leiweke, the CEO. And so there was no partner in Seattle at that time. And so I joined, and we still had a number of parcels that were very strategic that we needed to acquire. Like, for example, what's now Sparkman Wharf. We didn't have that. There was a parcel, a small parcel across the street we didn't have. There was a parcel that is now a very large parcel we didn't have. We didn't have the flour mill property. So there was there was tremendous numbers of parcels that were not acquired yet.
You entered that organization before they had acquired the footprint.
Correct.
Now
we didn't have the ability to put Water Street through because there was diagonal brewing was going right through the project. So we had to work with the.
I forgot about that.
We had to work with the Expressway Authority to make a deal to buy that property and straighten that out. So there was a lot of moving pieces. But I remember that shortly after I got there, Todd Leiweke mentioned to me that that through his contacts in Seattle, he had a contact with Cascade, which was the private ownership, private office of Bill Gates, and that there's a chance that they might come into the project. And I was like, wow, that would be really cool. And then nothing really happened for months. And then probably towards the end of the year, Todd told me, well, I just heard back from Cascade. We have to get the deal done by year end. So that was like a mad rush to get everything done.
And what was that relationship like at the time with Bob, right? Bob Buckhorn is the mayor. You used to work for him. You get to the lightning. Right. You're starting to work on some of these real estate plays and acquire the property. You hear the vision, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what did Bob think, and what was your conversation with the former mayor when you put a plan in front of him and say, look, this is what these guys are trying to do here? It was very ambitious at the time to do that in Tampa.
Very ambitious. And at the time I got there, the plan was really still being fine-tuned and developed. But Mayor Buckhorn was always extremely supportive, and he had a great relationship, still does, with Jeff Vinik, and he bought into the vision.
Yeah.
He was a #1 cheerleader. So he was able to go with Jeff Vinik, whether it was to Seattle or New York or whatever, to help sell the vision of the project. So he 100% bought into it and was nothing other than supportive.
Wow.
And so was Mike Merrill, the county administrator at the time, because one of the things that we did after we got a little bit further down the road, we said, we need to have some help from the city and the county in order to fix all the infrastructure and create the foundation for this project. And so through working closely with Mayor Buckhorn and the city council and the county commission, we were able to put together a very unique and creative infrastructure deal that I really haven't seen replicated anywhere else, because SPP would put up the money and would fix the roads, fix the infrastructure, the utilities, the water, the sewer, the streetscape, and then the city and the county would reimburse them up to a certain amount.
And that was a rare thing to do for a local municipality?
It was a rare thing because most developers, weren't willing to front the money and didn't have the financial capability to front the money. Anyway, and the idea was it's going to be a great investment for the city and the county, because we're going to build this property up. We're going to create tremendous additional tax revenue, and you're going to make multiple times the return on your investment, which ultimately is the case. I mean, it takes a while for obviously things to get built, put on the tax roll, start generating the tax revenue, but that was the reason that the city and the county were willing to look at that creative deal.
So that was all paid for privately at first, all that infrastructure.
Correct.
Because I forgot, you mentioned that diagonal brick road. I forgot about that.
Diagonal
They
Boreen,
totally, Boreen, they totally realigned the street grid there. And then remember, was it Nuke's Cafe?
Yeah. Well, Nuke's was there, as well as
that's
Ferg's
where the
came
road
in
kind
later.
of turned.
Yeah.
And
Nuke's was there, and that was one of
Ferg's
the properties.
was there after.
Yeah. But Nukes was in a slightly different location. So they purchased the property that was Nukes. They purchased later one of the deal. Fergus was kind of one of the harder sites for us to acquire, but we acquired that property. So we incrementally acquired all these different properties. I mean, they had, when Jeff Vinik bought the Lightning, he got the two parcels on either side of the arena came with the team. So the one that is now the JW Marriott and the one that's now the Heron, both of those came with the team.
Yeah, here we go. This will help. A map.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, David. So
the property just to the left of the arena, which is now the JW Marriott in that small parking lot, that came with the team. And the property on the right where the Heron is, so he acquired those two properties when he got
with
the team. And at that time, I mean, I remember years before when it was owned by the prior owners of the Lightning before Jeff, people looked at doing office buildings, looks at doing other projects on at least the property on the left there, and nobody could ever make the numbers work. And while a lot of people strongly encouraged it, that nothing ever happened. So when Jeff got those two properties, and he had a theory that you should always acquire adjacent land if it's at a reasonable price because it gives you more flexibility and more options. So I think at that time he wasn't planning to develop Water Street, but he knew that those properties came with the team, and he knew that they were going to be valuable either then or someday.
It sounds like when he bought the team, he just kind of saw opportunity and then developed the plan over the course of a few years along the way. And then,
Well, so he had done extensive research before he decided to buy the team because he was looking at a number of teams in a number of cities, and he did extensive research because that's what he does. And he's incredibly smart, and he, digs into to every last detail. And he decided that Tampa was an area that was seeing strong growth. Even though the team was somewhat down at the time that he bought the team, he knew that they had won the Stanley Cup in, the 03-04 season, that they had great crowds at that time, that even though the next couple ownership groups had seen a decline, he knew that the fans would be there if they put a winning product on the ice. He knew that Tampa was a growing area. At that time, the prices were, relatively affordable based on what he was looking at in Boston and other areas. So he made a bet on Tampa, which turned out to be a great bet. Something that, we had seen 20 years earlier, 50 years earlier. But we were just so fortunate to have a visionary like him come down and just throw his whole heart and soul into the community in so many ways.
And look at the success too. You go to Water Street now, there's a ton of people enjoying it at the cafes and the restaurants, and it's fantastic. And I'm so excited to see how it grows too in the next phases. Hey guys, if you want to watch the full episode of this clip, click right here. Make sure to subscribe by clicking right here. Thank you for watching.